Chapter 12. More feeding times. On the way they passed a great number of interesting birds, including some storks and ostriches. But Uncle would not let them stop. "No, we haven't time, and it is only right and proper to pay our respects to the King of the Air before we visit his subjects." But the very next second they had to stop. It was not anything they saw, but something they heard. A long, low, distant growl, or bark, or whine. You really couldn't say what it was, except that it was different from anything you had ever heard before. Alice and Joan were for running away, but Kitty simply caught hold of Uncle's little finger and looked up at his face. He would know. "It's all right. I've heard that sound before, many times. But I know how you feel. It hurts." "Yes," said Joan. "It seems to go right through you. What is it?" "Only some more hungry animals, you see. It is getting near the lions' feeding time, and their house is only just over there. They are telling the waiter to hurry up. But I think we can just squeeze the eagles in first, if we try." A minute or two later they stood before some very high cages, in which were perched a number of rather dowdy-looking birds. Phil was frankly disappointed. "Why, I thought—" "Look!" shrieked Joan. "That one keeps swallowing his eyes." "I don't think they can be as hungry as that," laughed Uncle. "I've heard of people offering to eat their hats, but—" "She means the way they blink," explained Phil. "They go just like the shutter on Dad's camera." "Yes, the eye of an eagle is very wonderful. The old poets used to tell us that it loved to gaze at the sun. But they forgot to mention, or had not noticed, that the eye itself is shaded by a projecting eyebrow. But certainly the eagle has a remarkable power of seeing at one and the same time things quite close at hand and others miles away. As for their appearance, they look very fierce," said Phil. He was trying to like the eagles better. "Yes, but I dare say you are wondering what there is about the bird that has made some of the most powerful nations of the world adopt it as an emblem. You must remember that the birds are in captivity, and large as their cages are, they give them no opportunity for true flight. An eagle on the wing is one of the grandest sights in nature." Here the keeper came up with the food. The girls quickly turned their backs. The boys, however, walked farther along and saw the vultures also have their portion. But they did not stay long. The vulture somehow is not a nice creature, especially when he is eating, though Uncle explained that he was very useful as a scavenger in eastern countries, because while the eagle generally hunts and eats live things, the vulture feeds on carrion that would set up disease if not cleared away. "That's the worst of trying to do everything," said Phil, as they walked off. "I wish we hadn't bothered about squeezing in the eagles. If Wally hadn't kept reading that silly old notice about feeding times." "I think you're getting tired, old chap," said Uncle gently. "We'll just see the lions and tigers and then—" "I don't suppose we'll ever get in," said Phil, mournfully eyeing the crowds that were surging towards them from all parts of the gardens. His fears were justified. The lion house was packed. Only on one side was there room, plenty of it, but nobody seemed anxious to cross the barrier. "No," said Uncle, "I don't feel like daring to be a Daniel today, and I wouldn't recommend any of you to. And the air is too stuffy for anything. We shall have to come—" Phil looked up expectantly, but Uncle muttered the rest of the sentence to himself. "The sea lions are fed at 4:30, put in Wally, undeterred by what Phil had said about the silly old notice. "Well, we ought to be in time for the early door on that show," said Uncle. "It's worth seeing too." So they hurried past the antelope's paddock to a large railed pond, backed by great banks of rockwork. Determined not to be disappointed this time, they just held on to the railings and waited. Soon other people came round, but not one of the children would budge. They felt like people who had paid for front seats, and they meant to have them. And though they had to wait for nearly half an hour, the time did not seem long. The sea lions were dashing round in the water at a ferocious rate, now and again coming to the surface to breathe, then lolloping over gracefully and disappearing, only to pop up again in some quite unexpected place. "They have never bashed into each other once," said Phil, who seemed rather disappointed at the circumstance. "When we go to the swimming bath and dive like that, you generally find your friend's heel in your tuckney, or yours in his. Yes, as a swimmer the sea lions take a lot of beating. He's all curves, you see, and simply must slip through the water. But as a matter of fact, he spends a good deal of time on land, and he's almost equally at home on it." "Why is he called a lion?" asked Joan. It was a question she had put before. "Wait till his dinner is in sight, and I think he'll tell you." Directly afterwards the keeper appeared, with a pail. Taking his stand at the edge of the pond, he flung a fish first to the right, then another to the left, a third to a high ledge on the rocks, while another he dropped almost onto his boots. Fast as he threw, the sea lions followed each movement, and frequently snatched a fish long before it could fall. And all the time they roared and barked and barked and roared. "Yes," said Joan, "it's something like the lion's roar, but not so bad. You don't feel it down your spine so much. Oh, look, isn't he clever?" One of the animals had left the water and was dragging himself along the rocks, his ungainly flippers serving as legs. Then he waited, and the keeper flung fish after fish at him, without moving his body at all, but only his neck and head. The creature caught every one. "Wouldn't he make a first-class fielder?" said Uncle. But nobody seemed to hear. The children stood entranced, as one after another all the animals went through the same performance, until every fish had gone. "They're as good as the conjurer we had at our party last Christmas," said Phil. "I dare say I have watched them go through much the same performance on the stage of a music hall, though it never seems to me the right place for them. I have seen half a dozen mount blocks of wood arranged in a circle and bounce balls to each other on the tips of their noses. And I have seen them play cymbals and drums with their flippers." "They must be as clever as monkeys," said Phil. "Not quite, though it is a fact that they have larger brains than most animals of their size, and so understand more quickly what is expected of them." "Why do they have those funny things at the side?" asked Joan. "They're flippers. Oh, they are very useful, almost like hands are to us, or forefeet to land animals." "Aren't they really fishes?" asked Wally. "Oh no, not at all. They are mammals, as all animals are called that suckle their young. They take great care of their little ones, until they are able to go into the water for themselves, and will go without food themselves for months, until they grow quite thin." "They look just the same as seals," said Wally, whose father had given him a big natural history book with a lot of photographs as a birthday present. "Yes, at first sight, but the true seal's ears do not show, though of course he has them. Their flippers too are shaped differently, the seal's fore ones being much shorter and having nails or claws, while their hind ones seem almost to be a part of their tails. You will notice too that the sea lion's hind flippers are divided into long fingers. Both species are very valuable, and if the polar bear and the seal hunters go on killing them off at the present rate, there will soon come a time when they will be extinct, and ladies will have to do without their sealskin coats." "Mother said the other day," remarked Joan, "she was very glad she bought hers before the war." "No doubt, but I wonder whether she is aware that the article she has so carefully packed away for the summer is not really seal at all, but sea lion. The coarse outer fur is removed, and only the inner fur and skin made up." The boys were not very interested in this, but when, as they walked away, Uncle asked if they had ever heard of mermaids, they were all attention. There is very little doubt that the stories of mermaids, which have been told for ages in every sea-bordered country in the world, took their rise from the sight or capture of seals. "We have a lovely picture in our wonder book," said Joan, "showing a mermaid combing her hair." Yes, and do you know that sea lions have been seen to comb their hair with their flippers? Phil was smiling. Don't keep the joke all to yourself, said Uncle. What is it? Oh, I was thinking about something Hannah told us the other day. She said she once had a girl up from the country to help with the housework, and there was a piece on at the picture palace called The Mermaid. Hannah asked her if she knew what a mermaid was. Yes, she said. It's half a man and half a woman. Phil told the story quite well, but blushed when he realised that everybody was listening. After that, said Uncle with a laugh, it's time to look for the refreshment place. I'm more than half a woman when it comes to tea.